Hi everybody, my name is Lataya. I am the multifaceted mom and I am here today bringing you another video. Today we're going to discuss my move to Houston, and as you guys seen, I had a couple other videos about my move and y'all seen the journey from beginning to end, but what y'all don't know is this little secret. I moved here without a job and I did a fake move. Now, this was not the original plan. I'm gonna just tell you that now. I originally planned to move to Houston. I started planning in April. It was something about my 28th birthday, and it was something about that birthday. I came back and just started to accept my reality for what it was when it came to being a newly single mom, being a divorcee in this new season, and just really thinking about the life that I wanted to give my kids. And it's so funny because I was actually preparing to buy a house in Michigan, but everything was going wrong. And this was between February and April. I was planning to buy a house in Michigan and I saved so much money. I got my credit score up. And I think that was God really positioning me for something that wasn't even in my plans. That's the thing. That's how good God is. But I'm going to get on that later. So in like kind of late April, my birthday, April 7th, probably like 2 weeks after that, y'all, I just woke up one day. I swear to God, I was laying down in bed. The girls were asleep. And I was just like, what if it's not meant for me to even be here? And that was a thought that was in the back of my mind during my job hunting season, because for one, I had always planned on moving out of state. I just wanted to first get a rental home in Michigan so I could get rent, and I had these plans of like, oh, a rental home and the property, stuff like that. And I even told my realtor, hey, I'm planning on moving in a couple years when my kids go to school. However, I want a rental property here. But I just kind of felt like when things were going wrong, I was like, what if it's not meant for me to stay in Michigan and he wants me to move somewhere else? So then I started looking up cities that are pretty much family friendly, great school system, and everybody had been moving to Texas. So it was funny because when I was married, I had told my ex, like, Texas, North Carolina, I want to move back to LA in the future, but for now, while we raising kids, Texas, North Carolina, or Atlanta. I wasn't really feeling Atlanta, but North Carolina and Texas were kind of like options, or Arizona. So I was looking up cities and I was like, I really don't want to move to Dallas because I feel like everybody is going there. And not to say like I won't probably end up there, maybe whatever. I just never really thought about going there. But then I started to look up Houston, and Houston kind of was like, oh, okay, I never thought about Houston. So what I ended up doing was texting my friend, and this is, I really feel like God led me here because it was like people that I didn't expect to live here or to be here was here. So I texted my mentor, and I knew she lived in Texas, but she was in Louisiana, and then next thing you know, she was in Texas. So I was like, hey, what part of Texas do you live in? She was like, oh, I live in Houston. I was like, that's so crazy because I'm thinking about moving to Texas, but I want to kind of explore cities, explore Dallas, explore Houston. And she was like, yeah, like, I was like, you know, what do you like about it? She started telling me all these great things. A few months, or maybe like a couple months later, and let me backtrack. When I talked to her, I said, if I book a trip there, can I stay with you? And she was like, yeah, no problem. Even though I didn't end up staying with her, me and her hung out on the trip when I came. So I planned a trip for May. In May, it was like the week after Mother's Day, me and the girls took a trip. And as y'all seen in my last YouTube video, that was the trip that I went apartment touring. Me and her, my friend, we toured different cities in the Houston area, because I knew I didn't want to be in the inner city of Houston. If I moved, it had to be in the school system or in the area that had a great school system. So it was between Katy, Texas, Missouri City, Pearland, and there was some other really great cities that had a great mixture of Black people as well as a great school system. So when I came back from that trip, as y'all seen in my last video, I fell in love with Houston. I honestly felt so at home at Houston. I felt like it was a city where I seen so many Black people thriving and so many opportunities to thrive. I mean, from entrepreneurs, business owners. It wasn't, and no shade to Michigan, but I kind of felt like it wasn't this like all the Black people are in like mostly inner city of Detroit and or Flint or, you know, those inner cities, and then all of the wealthy like white people are in the suburbs. It was more, you see wealthy Black people, you see high class, middle class Black people, you see those people in these big houses and great school systems. And I wanted that to be the norm for my child or for my kids. And that's just something I didn't grow up with. I feel like I didn't start seeing that type of stuff until I got to college. And I feel like it was a culture shock because I grew up in pretty much all Black schools and then turned around and went to an all white college. And I just feel like that culture shock was extremely unhealthy. And I just don't want my kids to experience that. It's just no way in the world, and this is just for my moms out there, it's just no way in the world that the only two great schools in Detroit or Michigan should be Cass and Renaissance. Like, it's just two good schools out of the whole district. That's just not what I want my kids to go to school with. I don't want them to be limited in choices like that. So that's why I decided to not only choose Katy, Texas, because it had the best school system for Lori and Lila, but I loved the area, y'all. I was about to cuss. I loved Katy, Texas. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. As y'all seen in my last video, I stayed in a hotel in Katy, Texas, in a different part, but I stayed in a hotel in Katy, Texas because I really wanted to enjoy you know, the city that I might be living in. Did I expect to feel at home? No. Mind you, I have visited Atlanta before, and when I visited Atlanta, I stayed in my mom's friend's house in a really pretty neighborhood. I was like, oh, this is really nice. But it did not feel like home like Houston did. So I don't know. Like, I feel like when you have that movement within your body, when you feel it in your heart, that's God telling you where you should be. And if he doesn't want you to go somewhere, he won't allow it. Like, if he really don't want things to happen, he just won't allow it. I'm gonna just let you know that now. So fast forward, I took a trip in May, right? Loved Houston. Had my apartment. I had 2 top apartments that I wanted to stay in. I did an apartment tour in my last video when I visited Houston. I had 2 apartments that I wanted to stay in. I was like, okay. I also started looking up daycares in Katy, Texas. I started looking up schools in Katy, Texas. And it's so funny because while I was looking up daycares in Katy, I actually ended up talking to one daycare owner who, and I don't even have this in my notes, y'all, so this is really God leading me to say this, but I actually started talking to one daycare owner who answered the phone. Hello? And I was like, hello? She's like, I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about daycare. She was like, oh, I am so sorry. That's not how I answer my phone. I'm actually in Michigan right now. I just seen the 313 number, and I thought that you were like a family or friend. And she was like, yeah, I actually moved to Katy, Texas with my 2 kids. She was like, I moved to Katy, Texas with my 2 kids when I was 28 years old. And I I love it. She was like, it's the best decision ever. And I was telling her how I was about to move and, you know, how I was waiting for court permission. I'm telling her, you know, pretty much what's going on. And she literally was like, it was the best decision to get my kids into this new environment. They have had an extremely different upbringing than I have. Just telling me everything that I needed to hear. And here I'm thinking that's a sign not only to move, but, you know, that I'm going to be in her daycare. And I actually ended up not choosing her daycare. But it was just like, wow, God placed her there for a certain reason, because I'm doing something that nobody in my family has ever done. Really not even none of my friends. My friends have moved out of state, don't get me wrong, but move with 2 kids by yourself. You know, nobody has ever done that. So I'm kind of setting a blueprint for whoever might come behind me. So I'm going in blind. So the fact that she has done it before, that couldn't have been anybody but God. And I kept asking for confirmation to move, because you know how you have this desire to move and you have the desires to do certain things, but maybe it's not in God's plan, so you choose to not pray about it. This time I wanted to pray about it, because ever since leaving my marriage, I feel like God has done nothing but lead me exactly where I needed to go. Lead me exactly to the things that I needed to do. And it has literally never failed me. I have not made one emotional decision. I have literally only made God decisions that have been placed on my heart and I felt so at peace with. And that's how I felt about my move to Houston. So fast forward to June. I have this plan. I am such a type A personality. I have this plan. I have an Excel sheet. I have daycares lined up. I have so many things lined up. And I'm ready. I'm like, okay, it's just a matter of time. However, I hear God say, when I think it was just on a random day, y'all. I hear God say, if I laid you off, would you still go? Now, backtrack. I have been working remote at this point since 2020. So him saying, if I laid you off, would you still go? I said, yes, I would, because I trust you. And June 30th, I got laid off. Now, I have been planning on moving with a new job. Do not get me wrong. I have been planning on moving and having a job. I really wanted to be in mental health. I really wanted to get a job at the University of Houston. I wanted to switch to a higher education or healthcare, which is a poppin' industry in Houston. And I had this plan of I'm just going to not stress myself out anymore about trying to find a job in Houston, and I'm going to move with this remote job, which I actually really kind of hate. And God said, no ma'am, that's just not the plans I have for you. And I still want you to follow my steps. I still am going to order your steps for you to move, but it's just not going to be the way you thought you were going to do it. And I got laid off. I was at peace. I cried because it's so funny. I was in my friend's house. I actually cried because God had already asked me this question and prepared me for this, but I didn't want it to happen. I wanted to move safely. I wanted to move with security. Now, I'm putting these quotation marks up because we put our security in jobs and tangible things. We put our security in money. But those things can be taken away and all you have is God. So I'm not going to get into a sermon right now because I can go down that path. But when I got laid off, it was such a blessing because it has made me trust God even more than I have ever trusted God in my life. Okay, because as a single mom, and I'm just gonna say being laid off sucks, point blank period. And I've been laid off 2 other times besides this. The difference is that as a single mom, especially with no financial support from the other person, you are on your own. And I am not the type of person that's going to just say, oh, I'm a single mom. It is what it is. I'm going to just live in this lack and barely make it. No, babes. No, my kids are probably still, my kids are actually not probably, my kids will be going to college, paid by me. My kids will have options. We will live in abundance. We will live in wealth. And I think that when you become a single mom, your survival comes in. And I almost let my survival take over the faith that I had in God. So when I got laid off June 30th, I got severance. I had only 4 weeks of severance, y'all. Only 4 weeks. And I was kind of hurt by that because, you know, tech layoffs, they was getting like 6 months. But it is what it is. I had savings, so I was thankful for that because remember, y'all, I was saving to buy a house. I was saving and getting my credit score to buy a house. And the plan switched in April. So God had already prepared me for what he knew was going to happen. And that's how he works. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it and getting emotional because I'm planning on buying a house in Michigan. Whole time, he like, you're not even meant to be here, babes. Like, you're not going to even be here. You don't even know it. So, anyway, I get laid off. I have my savings. I have severance. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find a job before August or before end of September. I'm going to find a job. Like, it's just going to happen. Actually, no. I said end of August. Next thing you know, I got interviews from the University of Houston. I have been applying for their jobs back to back to back. And I got a job at the University of Houston. I got an interview for a marketing manager position. I had already been interviewing in the second round for another position. So it's like interviews were already lined up. But here's the thing. I didn't get any one of those jobs. And I was mad as hell. Okay, I was mad as hell because I'm like, why would you bless me, God, with these interviews and I didn't get it? I was mad as hell. But then let me tell you, I started to look up videos just like the one I'm making now about other women, other people who have moved without a job, who have done a faith move. And if it wasn't for those videos, I feel like they set the blueprint for having faith in God that he's going to provide. And let me tell you, about 99% of everybody who I watch, because I really can't think about anybody who didn't, it all worked out for them. It all worked out. I seen very minimal, like probably one video that homegirl had became homeless, stuff like that. But she actually went there without a home, and God still is gonna work it out for her if it already haven't worked out. Bring that up because I have to see rational fear just as a single mom that if I lose my job, it all falls on me. That's the mistake you make, babe. That is a mistake because whether you're a single mom, a married mom, whether you have no job, whether you rich or whatever, God is your provider, not any of this earthly stuff. God is your provider. And I thought that being a single mom was an exception to having faith that God was going to provide for me. It's just, yeah, he taught me. So anyway, fast forward, it's 2 weeks before I move, right, y'all? And I think I mentioned this in my last video. I got a girl on Facebook was like, hey, you know, I'm looking for a job. I just moved here. Somebody commented under her video and was like, hey, I have a job. All you gotta do is have a bachelor's degree and 2 years of work experience. I was like, oh, perfect. Let me hop in your DMs. Whoop, 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 whoop. Hopped in her DMs. She's like, oh, yes, for Children's Mental Health Program Coordinator for the University of Texas. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. So I interview with her. I tell her, like, hey, I'm actually in school to be a clinical mental health therapist next year. I graduate. And she was like, yes, oh, perfect. Y'all, she says the job is yours. Let's talk on Friday. When can you start? Like, it happened fast. And guess what? I still didn't get that job. She ghosted me. Yeah. So before she ghosted me, Wednesday we had the interview. She gave me a verbal offer and said, when can you start? Cool, perfect. Friday she calls me and says, oh, I just feel like the job doesn't pay you enough, so I just want to recommend you to my colleague, and she has a job opening, and I thought it was so perfect, so she's gonna reach out to you, and the job is yours if you want it. Oh, perfect, I'm all set. However, I'm just like, damn, can I just get an offer letter to make this official? Yeah, ghosted. Babe, she ghosted me. I followed up with her 5 times over the phone, Facebook, email about 3 times. I called her sporadically throughout the next 2 weeks. When I tell you I was mad as fuck, like, I felt that was so disrespectful. Mind you, she also came from Chicago, and she was just saying how, you know, it's just so hard for people to find a job, and I like to help people out. And she's a therapist, so she want to introduce me to this person and that person. Like, the interview went so well. I don't know why that happened. I really don't. I know I was mad about it for a very long time. I felt so disrespected. I felt so, like, I don't know, I felt so violated. Like, that was so rude. Like, just tell me that you chose something different or whatever. So I felt like I also was mad at God, because I'm like, God, why would you have that happen to me? Like, why? I'm just not understanding. But the thing is, I was asking the wrong question. I said, why would you have this happen to me, instead of, what is this trying to teach me? And I think what it really ended up teaching me is that as soon as I even got the verbal offer, I failed whatever test, because I immediately started to feel so secure in having the job. Instead of how I was feeling before, when I made up my mind that I'm going to this place without a job, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to make it work, I immediately felt so relaxed and secure in him or in the job that I forgot to feel secure in him. And I think that's why he took it away from me, because your security is not in a job. It's in God. So at this point, it's a week before I move. I am at a point of, you know, just making up in my mind that I am going to move without a job, and it is what it is. Friday before I move, I actually ended up having a call with, I just also want to backtrack too and just put this context. I was already a virtual and social media manager on the side for the last 1.5 years. So when I got laid off, I was like, well, I feel like God wants me to take this on full time, because at this point, working for companies is just not it right now. But, you know, I have been like, listen, I want security. I want a job. It is what it is. However, that wasn't in his plans. So I'm networking on LinkedIn. So I ended up talking to this girl who worked for BetterHelp. And that was something that I wanted. I wanted to work in something that was mental health related, tech related, use my marketing skills and professional background to get into a mental health company. The girl ended up saying, hey, I know you called about this. I know we talking about this, but like, what do you do? Because I'm seeing that you handle social media. She was like, yeah, can I hire you for that? I'm like, sure. The call went from me trying to figure out how I can get connected through her for a company to her becoming my client. And I was just like, wow, God, is this a sign that this is where you want me to go? But I still was not fully convinced that, like, this was the route that I needed to go. Because I'm like, I really just want a job every 2-week paycheck. I want that security. I prefer that, God. And, you know, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Tell him what you want. Because remember, y'all, I was supposed to find a job in August. I told God, August, babes. August, I need a job in August. By the end of August. And he said, oh, okay, that's cute. Let me give you some interviews. Let me tell you. No. He shut me down. And that's okay. Because it ended up better than what it was supposed to end up. So fast forward, I got her as a client. And I'm like, okay, is this a sign, right? And now I just kind of felt like, okay, I'm gonna use DoorDash. We have Instacart. We have the laundry service. I mean, so many ways to make money, y'all. I also am gonna call temp agencies. And the last week I'm gonna call a temp agency every single day. I'm like having this plan in my head. But the reality is that it still didn't go according to plan. Like, I kind of felt like I needed to wait till I moved to then start focusing on that. So now that I talked about that, I also want to switch gears because I moved with kids. And I want to touch on this just a little because everybody's situation was so different. And I think that when I was trying to research people who move with kids, it was no video that really, yeah, because now my camera died. I cannot. So before my camera died, I was at the kids part. So I did move with kids. I moved with my baby girls. And something I feel like has never been mentioned is the permission you have to get from either the court or the other parent to move. Now, this is a complicated situation because I could never find a situation that was exactly like mine. And the reality is that no situation is going to be the same. It might be a couple here and there, but no situation is going to be the same. So if you are a mom that is trying to move with children, just know a few things. One, do you have a custody agreement? If you do not have a custody agreement, you are not bound to stay in the state that you are at whatsoever. If it's not a legal document that says that you have full custody, he has this time, parenting time, you do not have to stay in the state that you are at. Is no legal document that is obligating you to stay. I also want you to note that because of that, you know, I personally wouldn't trust it only because I prefer to have a legal document that tells me when you can see my child, when I can see, like, I prefer a legal document. However, you know, if y'all want to go that route, you know, that's your business. Secondly, I had full legal and physical custody. So when you have sole physical custody and joint legal custody, that means that you typically have to get the other parent's permission or court's permission. When you have sole legal custody and sole physical, you still have to get the court's permission. However, it's really more of an easier process because you have sole legal, and a lot of times that means that you have the sole responsibility of making those decisions for you and your child. I had that. However, I still was nervous as hell about getting permission because I was just like, I know that this move is going to be good for me and my kids. However, the other parent might not agree. And the reality is that with my situation, the other parent wasn't involved. I have a pretty complicated situation because it is a protection order in place. It is supervised visits, and they have not seen their other parent for like a year. it's none of my business. I kind of take my hands off of it, let that be in God's hands. But I know what I need to do for my kids and for me and mine. I made the decision to move this route, and what I did was set up a parenting plan that would still accommodate that arrangement. And if it progresses to like better terms, then, you know, I looked up supervised visitation agencies here. It's a lot of them that are in Houston. So I looked up some agencies here, gave them a whole list. I pretty much did the work to still leave that door open, but you know, I did my homework. I made sure that he still had that door open. And it's a lot of parents out there who are not in my situation, which is why it was so hard to find a video that would help me out personally. So I just wanted to explore or tell you guys all your options, but also consult with legal. Look up the state laws in your state. I read over my state laws so many freaking times, it's ridiculous. When you go to court to ask for permission, you have to essentially tell the court why this move is the best for your kids. School system, city, crime, programs. Are they on a spectrum? Do they have a speech delay? What type of programs are there versus here? I think for me it was pretty simple because from Katy, Texas is a huge suburban, very nice area, very great for my children, versus Detroit. And Detroit is nice, but when you do the comparison, it was just like, this is really going to provide the best life. And that's where I want your moves to come from too. I don't want it to come from a malicious standpoint, unless like domestic violence is also involved, which is kind of my case, but it wasn't malicious. It was more so like, I'm moving forward, and I think that's kind of what I want you to come from as a mom, is about moving forward. But when domestic violence is the case as well, that also goes towards the well-being of your child. And again, consult legal, because yeah, it's very deep and it goes into that as well. If you and a parent agree, all the parent has to do is write a letter, say y'all agree, he got to get it notarized or she got to get it notarized. And it's so simple. Like, that's the ideal situation for y'all to both agree. You get this summer, you get this holiday, you get this, you get that. Like, that's the ideal situation. But as we know, everybody doesn't have the smooth sailing co-parenting relationship, and that's okay. I just wanted to make sure I cover my bases with that, because and if you need any more guidance or any more help with that, definitely leave a comment, because I feel like that was like such a tricky part for me, because it was so complicated. Like, I felt like it was complicated. Everybody else felt like, okay, straight to the point, you the primary caretaker, the other parent not involved. However, I still wanted to leave that door open, but also move on, and do what I needed to do. So yeah, touched on that. But again, if you need more guidance with that, leave a comment. Don't want to spend too much time there, but I just wanted to touch on every single thing with that. So apartment, I actually, so funny, I told you I chose 2 apartments that I was gonna stay in. What ended up happening is the apartment I really wanted to stay in, they sent me an apartment that was perfect for my budget, perfect for what I wanted. I have a 1-bed, 1-bath. Yes, I have 2 kids, but they both sleep with me. And I'm probably gonna get a day bed so they can start transitioning into sleeping by themselves. But realistically, I got a breastfed baby and a toddler. Like, it's just not, no. So do what's best for your budget, but for me, I had to look at the logistics of what's really happening in my home. Again, when I got divorced and I moved to a single income, even though I was making almost $80K, I still did a 1-bedroom, babes, because I gotta pay for daycare. It's all on me. I have to save. Anyway, we could get on financial reset later, financial, which is coming up in one of my future videos. But with my apartment, what I decided to do, they offered me a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in like June. And I was so scared to sign it. I did not have enough faith to just be like, yeah, this is where God is telling me to go. But thank God he gave me another chance. I had a 1-bedroom, 1-bath right before my court case given to, like, they told me, here, you can apply for it. And it's $200 to apply, no security deposit. And I was just like, I still haven't got permission from the court, but I kind of feel like God got me. I mean, he got me. Like, he has literally not led me anywhere, any wrong this far. He got me. So I went ahead and applied, got approved the same day. And my court case to get permission from the judge was Wednesday. I applied on Monday, got approved Monday night, which is on my TikTok video. Got approved for my apartment. I used the paycheck stubs that I had from my severance check because they broke it up in 2 weeks, so it really aligned perfect. Didn't have a deposit. Literally, it was perfect. So it was an easy transition, got approved, and we are good. And I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. So when I brought our tickets, we flew down here, shipped my car, and I actually threw out everything. No couch, no bed. Mind you, when I moved into my apartment, I was after a divorce, and a domestic violence situation. So we left furniture in my old apartment with my ex, and when I moved into my new apartment, I got a bed off Facebook Marketplace for $50, a frame for $100 from Walmart. My friend, she was moving to Dallas, so she had a couch that she was selling for $200. So literally all my furniture equated to about less than, and I brought a dresser on Facebook Marketplace for $25. So all my furniture equated to like $500, and it was just not worth me shipping all of that here when I could just start over fresh. And that's what I did. And I sold that. I sold a few things, but I really sold like my wedding dress, because we're done with that chapter. I used that money to help me move. My plane tickets was $45 each. I only had to pay for me and Lori because Lila's under 2. I could have paid for her a seat, but I just didn't. I used Uplift, which I also didn't have to do. But Uplift, you could pretty much put your plane ticket on a payment plan, and my payments was only $16. So got that done. So really it was just shipping my car, and the cost to ship my car was like $1,100. And I just didn't want to put that wear and tear on my car. You do not have to ship your car. You can drive. It would have been a 19-hour drive for me, and I just didn't anticipate myself doing that with 2 girls. I feel like it would have been really torture on myself. Okay, talk about overstimulated, as well as torture on them and my car. I just didn't want to put down my car. So where I'm at now, I told you guys I was a virtual assistant. I have transitioned my agency to being more of a creative strategist type of agency, specifically for female entrepreneurs and moms. And I'm saying this because I just want you guys to know, and this is kind of when I'm going to my takeaways, that God really gives you everything that you need. One thing I know how to do is braid hair. I only braid my hair though. I know how to braid hair. I know how to create. I know how to help people. I know how to clean. Use what you have to get to where you need to go. God, sometimes when God talks about his promises and blessing us with abundance and rich, sometimes that might not come in the form of a 9-to-5. It might actually come from the gifts that he gave you that he's waiting on you to utilize. But you are so busy thinking that your blessing is wrapped up in this one way that you can't even unlock what he has for you. So where I'm at now is I started a creative virtual assistant agency. I really just rebranded my virtual assistant business before, and I just went all in. I redesigned the website. I used Shopify I redesigned the website. I went all in and marketed myself. I went hard, and I have like 6 clients now. My goal is to get to 10K months, but my minimum to live a comfortable life that I want to live really only requires like 3,000 to 5,000, and I'm almost there with the retainers that I'm getting. But really, it's just hustle time. And I think that's what God wants you to do. He wants to see how you work, but he also wants you to rest and relax and know that you have it. So some of my takeaways, and I hope this is helping y'all. Some of my takeaways is that, your blessings does not show up in a way that they show up in the last season. So maybe God might bless you with, some random money. Maybe God might bless you with an idea that he wants you to execute, and then he's going to bless you. Maybe he wants you to start your YouTube channel so he can make you go viral in a month. And then next thing you know, you got brand deals, and you like, whoa, just 6 months ago, I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. I didn't know how I was going to pay a bill. Like, that's how you have to think. And that's the world that I've been living in, is I just know something is coming, and it keeps coming. I keep getting clients. I keep getting people referrals. I mean, God is literally a provider. Like, I think a lot of us, and I didn't touch on this, but I think when you are a Christian and when you have faith, we are so used to having faith in shallow water, and I think this Michael Tide used this. We so used to having faith in shallow water. Like, long as I could grab on, I can step in the water. But go in the deep. Like, go in the deep and see what happens when you go in the deep. See, that's when your faith is actually going to ignite. And when you really jump into that situation and make that faith, like, show God that you in it, sis. Like, that, I feel God saying, you in it, daughter? Okay, I got you. Let me show you what I'm about to do for you. I have not lacked since being laid off. I have not lacked since moving. I have actually been blessed with random money, random ideas that I'm launching. I just got blessed with childcare for it was $2,000 per month, but I got blessed with Workforce Solutions, which is kind of like childcare program. Anyway, I only pay $160 a month for both of them to go to daycare. Now I have ample, and that was a blessing from God. So now I have time to execute the ideas that he wants me to have. Like, that's what I mean when I say God really looks out for you. Like, he will not abandon you. A couple of the scriptures that got me through was Matthew. And it's so funny because I've been reading Matthew, the book of Matthew, because I wanted to know Jesus Christ. Little did I know, it would just really carry me throughout this season, because God said, I fed the birds and the bees. Why would you worry about me feeding you? Are you not more important than birds and bees? Like, and it was one scripture in there, and I think it was in Matthew. I think it was in Matthew. He said Jesus was like on a boat, and he's sleeping, and it's a huge storm. Everybody else tripping. Jesus is asleep. He knocked out, and they like, oh, it's a storm, and he like, you have no faith. Like, he said, peace be still, and the storm just stopped. And I feel like that's where I'm at. I'm in a boat with Jesus, and I'm just like relaxing. Now, this is me paraphrasing because I'm not a preacher, but I'm just saying that this is what be going on in my mind when I think about things that can go wrong, things that I just remember the boat. I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. I'm okay. I'm fed. My kids are fed. We're clothed. Whenever I get stressed out about what can happen in the future, I go back to those foundational things. I can breathe. I can see. My 5 senses. Like, think about that when you are in the midst of stressing out about what's gonna happen in the future. But so the whole time I've been here, I would say I've pretty much been in two realities, more so leaning on a reality with God. But one reality is like, girl, what the hell is you doing? Go back to your mama house. Or I wasn't living in my mom's house, but she offered for me to stay there when my lease ended. And I was just like, dang, what the heck are you doing? Go back to your mom's house. The other side is like, God got you. He's literally about to bless you with abundance. He got you, sis. Just hold out. Even if you get to your last dollar and he decide, I'm going to bless you, and you going to take off. He got you. That's how God works. He want to see how much faith you have. He wants you to trust him. But anyway, that's all for today. Remember to like and subscribe because I have so much more content coming. I cannot wait for God to really bless me, and I can just show others how he has blessed me. I can show others how I've been having faith. And I just want to be used as a vessel for his mercy, his blessings, his favor. And if you have any questions about moving to Houston, about moving with children, being a single mom, building a virtual assistant agency, or whatever, leave a comment. If I didn't cover something you want me to talk about, leave a comment. I reply, or I could just make another video and cover it all. I will be coming out with a either a course or ebook about how to become a virtual assistant, and don't worry, it's really gonna be cheap because I do want to help other moms out to have their own revenue. And yeah, let's get it, let's go. If you want to move, pack your bags, plan that move, decide if you're gonna trust them, if you're gonna go in the deep or you go stay in the shallow. Decide. See you.